Hey everyone, what is going on? What is going on? My name is Curtis Brooks. I'm a men's life coach. I specialize in transformational leadership for men. Guys, this conversation tonight is seemingly off the cuff, or just impromptu, but in fact, it is not. This conversation is going to be a clarion call for us men. I repeat, this conversation is a clarion call for us men. And so I'm going to be sharing some powerful nuggets with you, and I want you to grab it. I want you to take hold of it. I myself obviously am a man just like most of you are, and I struggle at times with different challenges, but tonight is a bit different. It's a clarion call, and I want for you to come out of those caves. And us men, let's face it, we have been in a cave for too long now, and it's time that we come out. So tonight we're going to be talking about several different things, and seemingly I may be all over the place, but it is with great intentions, and I'm going to bring it all together, right? So again, my name is Curtis Brooks. I'm a men's life coach. I specialize in transformational leadership for men, and what I want you to do is to share this out, with friends. Guys, it is going to be a powerful conversation, and I want you to get this. I want you to take heed to the information that I'm sharing with you, because this message in itself, it absolutely feels like a fire that is shut up in my bones, and I'm totally excited because I'm going to use this message to set the captives free as far as what a lot of us are dealing with as men. So give me just 1 second, guys. I'm gonna make sure I have it over on LinkedIn, because sometimes the comments don't show up if people are. Hey, Sean, thank you for joining us over on LinkedIn. Appreciate you. Thank you. So again, this message is a clarion call for us men, and I want for us to come out of the cave that we've been hiding in. And let's face it, it does not matter whether you're rich or poor or somewhere in the middle. Us men, we know how to find caves. We know how to find the challenges, or the challenges find us. And so tonight's message, guys, it is going to be a powerful message. It's going to be a message that's going to provoke you, a message that's going to make you angry, a message that's going to just have you just maybe yelling at the screen, or just really looking at yourself. That's what I want you to do. I want for this message to be so powerful, and so, again, just being intently about you. I want you to take this message personal, because for us men, it is time for us to come out the cave. So again, as I stated, I am a men's life coach, and I specialize in transformational leadership for men. And so I'm going to talk about a wilderness. And oftentimes we associate wilderness with even the Bible, the Holy Bible, the wilderness. The children of Israel were in a wilderness, and that it says that they wandered in that wilderness for 40 years. Can you imagine? 40 years. And yet the place where God was trying to take them was not literally, but just figuratively speaking, a stone's throw away. Wasn't that far? I think the theologian said it was like a 3-day trip or something like that, which could have been easily made in that amount of time, 3 days. So I want to talk about wilderness. A wilderness can be anything. A wilderness can be something that you're dealing with that keeps us as men going round and round, and surveying that mistake that we made, surveying the guilt that we feel upon something that either we've done or something that was done to us, be it child abuse, be it sexual abuse, mental and emotional abuse from a parent, or maybe we were the aggressor. Told you guys, I'm leaving no stone unturned, because I want for us men to get this thing. Because when we take these things that we're dealing with and say, hey, you know what? This is what I'm dealing with. This is the challenge that I'm having. Then there's help. But until then, guys, we can find ourselves wandering in a wilderness. We often hear that this wilderness is associated with biblical situations, or something that the children of Israel were going through. And in fact, yeah, they were going through it. But how many of us are going through a wilderness? How many of us are in a wilderness right now? That lonely, dry, dark place. And it feels like no one else is there with you. And in fact, there's a voice right now making a clarion call that's saying, come out, wherever you are. And that's exactly what I want for us as men, to come out of the cave. Because it has been long time for us to come out. We've shrunk back from our duties, and perhaps we don't even know our duties. And if I could be honest with you, as a father and as a husband, now 56, man, there's stuff I'm still learning that I wish I would have known when I was much younger. Perhaps I could have done something different, or responded to the challenges that I was faced with at that particular time and age. But just like most of you, I was in a wilderness too. Been stuck in that wilderness for a long time. Around and around I went. Life will inevitably place us in a wilderness, or place us in a desert. You can call it whatever you want to call it. Confusion, chaos. Sometimes we have to look at the chaos that we're creating. Sometimes we have to look at ourselves, look at the situation on a deeper level, and know that we have in fact come from chaos. That we as people, in a larger perspective, we were born in chaos. We were born in chaos. We were born in confusion. We're born with a burden that wasn't ours. But now that we have this burden, now we recognize it as a burden, similar to the mask that we all wear from time to time, or have decided to wear, or again, intentionally or unintentionally, the mask that we wear, the masks that become our values, our belief systems. They truly are the culprit that prevent us from walking in our authenticity, walking in integrity. Perhaps the mask that we're wearing is the culprit. But I want to say that even if it is the mask could easily be, and I've said this at different times, is that we know the mask is not a helmet. It's not something that's made of cloth. It's not something that's metal. It's not a hood. It's none of those. It's the words that we've been given. It's the value system or systems that we all uphold to a degree. Our belief systems, things that we know to be true in our own mind. And we find out that when we enter into relationships with people, that the very thing that we knew to be true, and in most cases, the other person finds it offensive. So we find ourselves having a difficult time going back to the drawing board. Appreciate you, Sean. Thank you for on Facebook. So we find ourselves going back to the drawing board, trying to figure out the landscape, trying to figure out what the next move is. But the reality of it is there is no next move until you put something different. And that means that our value systems and our belief systems, they're being challenged each and every day. So rather than hold true to the value system, which most of us do, we find ourselves placing layers of different masks on. Layers of just stuff that's on. And though we are trying to take hold of different understandings, we find ourselves dealing with the contention of our belief systems or our values that just we're not quite ready to shake, or it becomes very difficult to come out of those chains, so to speak. So today, I want to encourage us as men to not be afraid to shake up the value system, to know that your value system, your belief system are going to be shaken up. They're going to be challenged. And it's okay because, yes, it makes us uncomfortable. I've been uncomfortable. Most of life is filled with being uncomfortable. And it's something that we have to get used to. Some of us, we find ourselves being at our best because we're uncomfortable. It brings out the best in us when we're uncomfortable. So tonight I want to say that it is your value systems. Check out your value systems, because our value systems, or the mask that we wear, oftentimes those masks have us turning our nose up at other people. Oftentimes those masks that we wear have us looking down at our own selves, riddled with guilt, riddled with pain. Perhaps you're a man who's been abused mentally, emotionally, sexually, physically. Maybe that's something that you're dealing with. And the mask that you've created now has you locked in a prison. The mask that you're wearing now makes you feel like you're alone in this thing, trying to find your footing, feeling like perhaps you're in a cave or some sort, that you're out here all by yourself. The reality is that there are answers, man. There are answers. There are people who have been through the same thing that you've gone through. Maybe not the exact same thing. But when we look at it from a larger picture, abuse is abuse, guys. No one's abuse is worse off than another. And I know we may feel differently about that. And that's to be understood. We may feel differently. I get that. And we can find ourselves trying to compare pain with pain, and my situation is worse than yours. Let's determine that we're not going to play that game anymore. Let's look at the spirit behind something, those things that we're dealing with. And then when I say spirit, I want to use that. Yeah, absolutely. Sean says over on Facebook that we grow in discomfort. We grow in discomfort. This is what Sean says. We grow in discomfort. I appreciate that, Sean. We absolutely do. And discomfort is needed. It is absolutely needed for us to grow. It is the resistance training that I like to call it. It is the life has a tendency, as listening to a pastor at one time, he talked about how the lion has been caged, if you will, and that lion being us, being us as men, or just we've been caged in, and almost the roar, our bite, our roar, our vigor has been taken away from us. Perhaps your vigor as a lion, as a male lion, has been taken away from you through something your mother said, something your father said, something a relative said, or someone who was significant in your life, a former spouse or girlfriend or ex-girlfriend, or someone that you're dealing with right now, an uncle, a cousin. The gist of it is that as men, we're hurting. We are hurting. And because we're hurting, we find ourselves wanting to go back to what's comfortable for us. One goes to a cave, yet another goes to a bar, and yet another goes to dealing with perhaps prostitution, drugs, being oversexed, gambling, pornography, lying, more lying, deception. All because the man in the mirror desires to be loved. The man in the mirror, the man that you're looking at each day as you're preparing for work or getting your day started. Each day, the man in the mirror desires to be loved. But here's the challenge. He thinks that he can't find love. He wants to be a leader, and there's a leader in him. Absolutely. I believe there's a leader in every man. Absolutely. And it is depending upon that person or individual to take the lead. And when I say take the lead, I'm not necessarily talking about leading an organization, and be it a small organization or a large organization. I'm talking about taking a lead in our own individual lives that would cause us or call us to work through our stuff individually before we can take the speck out of our brother's eye. Individually now. So before we can take the speck out of our brother's eye, there's a scripture in the Bible that says there's a larger plank that's in our own eye. So we're got a larger issue that we need to deal with. But we're kind of bent on trying to get that smaller issue out of our brother's eye. But we can't see our own issue for looking at someone else's issue. So today I want to say that the ball is in your court. The ball is in your court. The ball is in my court. And you first must decide that you want to lead your own life. Your own household first. Lead yourself through your own wilderness. I get it. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt, the hat. But you first must be prepared to come out of your own wilderness and say, hey, that's mine. That belongs to me. That issue belongs to me. And perhaps the issue is not you. The issue is not really you, but it's, in most cases, it's the stuff that's happened to us. It's the stuff that's happened to me in life. The stuff that's happened to you, me, and them, him and her, and whoever. The stuff that's happened to each of us. In most cases, we end up doing it to others because it's happened to us. So we find ourselves on this perpetual ride, if you will, that just goes in a circle, yet another circle. And man, just from our own, it's like eating the same thing every day. I remember as a kid, my son would want beef corn dogs. We'd buy him beef corn dogs, and he ate those things. It seemed like it was for like 6 months straight, and I was getting tired of seeing him eat them. But it was what he wanted, and at some point he changed, and he decided to eat something different. So I'm saying to you, us as men, we've been on this ride, similar to the corn dogs that I just mentioned, eating the same thing over and over, trying to figure this thing out ourselves. And the journey was just 3 days. It was supposed to only take you 3 days. Not 4 years, 40 years, but just 3 days. And some of us have been on this roller coaster, this perpetual ride for 40, 50 years, 60, 70 years. Some of us are still on this ride. When do you get off the ride? When do you get off the ride? I want to pose this question to you, and that is, what if you understood the purpose of a thing? What if you understood the purpose of a thing? Meaning you are that thing. What if you understood your purpose? Not in the eyes of who I think you should be. Oh, I'm a man pounding your chest. Absolutely not. But your own individual purpose. What if you understood your purpose? That thing being you and I. What if we understood our purpose? Would we abuse it? Would we abuse the very thing that we understood? Would we manipulate it? Would we lie to it? Would we cover it up? Would we give it a name that it wasn't intended for? We would name it something else. We would disguise that thing. So all along, men, our purpose has been disguised. It's been covered up. Because we haven't understood it. We have not understood our purpose. And if I were a fox, a sly fox, I would intentionally give you the wrong information about who you are. If I were someone who was just real slick, real cunning, if you will, I would intentionally give you the wrong information about who you are, purposely. Because I know that if you discover who you are, you would drop the facade, you would take the mask off, you would come out and develop your roar, and you would become the man that you're called to be. Each day, each of us are called. Every morning, each of us are called. We're either called to the mask that we're wearing, trying to figure out which mask we're going to wear, or we're called to authenticity and integrity. Because ultimately, that's the call that we're all hearing. But our individual mask makes so much noise that it becomes very difficult to hear the clarion call. It becomes very difficult to see the larger perspective, if you will. It becomes very difficult to hear properly because the mask, the deception that comes through the mask that conceals who you are, that has concealed who I was at a particular time in my life. It's noisy. It's disruptive. It's divisive. It's deception. It's concealing. It's without a purpose. It's without any kind of real guidance. It's confusion. It's disoriented. It lies. It kills. It destroys. It murders. The mask is like us as men being crabs in a barrel. And if you could look at it this way, from this perspective that I'm about to share with you, as it relates to the mask as the crabs in a barrel, that for each of us, it's not just one mask that we're wearing. We're wearing several masks. We have masks for all different kinds of occasions. But know that these masks that we wear, they're not grounded in any kind of belief system. Because one moment they conceal themselves as a leader, and the next moment it conceals itself as something else. So now, as men, we have to be determined, as we're waking up each day, who's calling you? Who is calling you? Each morning that you get up to prepare your day, as you're taking care of your household, your family, your spouse, your significant other, what mask is calling you? Is authenticity calling you? Is integrity calling you? God, I want to hit this hard for a reason. Absolutely. I want you to be angry. I want you to be upset. I want you to be provoked to change, provoked to reach out to me. If you're sick and tired of wandering in that wilderness that has been created. And let me say this, in most cases, the wilderness is not something that we created. The wilderness was created for us. It was purposely done. The confusion, the deception was from the very beginning. But now that we know it's there, for what each of us are dealing with, or have dealt with, or presently dealing with, the ball's in our court. It's our stuff now. I've absolutely had to go through my own wilderness experience, had my own set of challenges, absolutely. Absolutely, my own set of challenges. And I've worked through those things. So now this is why I give you this clarion call. Because leaders aren't just called to organizations. Leaders are first called to themselves. First, not to themselves in a selfish manner, but to a greater call. That is the reason why each of us wake up each night, or each morning, I should say, on the grind, headed somewhere, because there's something calling you. And after a while, there's an emptiness that each of us as men have dealt with, a desire to have more And we think if I have another car or a bigger house or another woman in my life, if I find someone else because I'm hurting that little boy on the inside that's been hurting, that's been hurt, that's been scarred, that's been abused, the little boy that still needs a father. The little boy that's playing the father now. The little boy that's in the father role right now. The little boy that's still playing the husband right now. Finding it hard to raise his own kids, to deal with his own kids, to deal with his own stuff because there's the little boy on the inside. So the purpose of this call this evening, or this clarion call, this conversation, is to call out that little boy who's been hiding in a cave, who's been told that he could be no one, he is no one, he is nobody, that's been broken by someone else who was broken, that was abused mentally, emotionally, and physically, that was lied to, that was deceived by yet someone else who was deceived, someone else who was wearing a mask too. That's the young man that I'm talking to. Come out, wherever you are, and take your rightful position. If this message has resonated with you, I really thought I was going to be on for much longer. I do want to share something with you really quick here. But again, I was going to be on for much longer, at least thought I was going to be for much longer. And I want to share something with you. I mentioned earlier motivation, or the word spirit. And the spirit of the thing is essentially the motivation behind something. And that motivation comes from the idea of what something is intended for, its purpose, its use, if you will. And because each of us have dealt with the mask, or we're wearing a mask and don't know we're wearing a mask, or yet on the inside we're trying to take this mask off, but just quite don't know how to take this mask off. There's a motivation behind everything. And there's a spirit. I'm going to use those words interchangeably. And so, because there's a spirit behind something, again, that motivation, that mask, that concealment, because of that motivation, we can find ourselves dealing with the fruit, or the fruit, or from the mask that we're wearing, and its unintended use, if you will, because we were never supposed to be wearing masks. The mask was not intended for us, but the mask was given to us because of deception. And so I want to say to you, men who are listening, I want to give you a new name, and it is mighty man of valor. I want to call you out into your purpose. Call you out of the stuff that you've been dealing with. And let you know that you can rise. But you first have to be willing to recognize that you're ready to take this mask off. Recognize that you're dealing with something, or have been wandering in that wilderness for way too long. And you're ready to get out. And you may not even think that this is a spiritual battle. And some of you may not even believe in God. That's okay. but it doesn't mean that it's not true. There are things, a lot of things that we don't believe. But just because you don't believe it doesn't mean that it's not true. Our belief systems are what they are. Good, bad, or indifferent. But every belief system holds a motivation behind it. Words themselves hold a motivation behind it for the purpose or the intention that it was given. There is a spirit or motivation of rebellion that a lot of us as men are dealing with. That motivation opposes the truth. That motivation or that spirit doesn't want to be told what to do. Oh, you don't tell me what to do. I'll figure it out on my own. It's the masks that keep us flighty, if you will, so to speak, not grounded in understanding. The mask keeps us in a place where we're unteachable. The mask keeps us in a place where we're constantly looking to be entertained. Or if he's not a doctor, or if she's not a doctor, or if she doesn't show all these different accolades, or he doesn't have all these accolades, then I don't want to believe it. I don't want to see anyone who doesn't have this or who doesn't have this. The mask keeps us in deception, constantly wanting to be entertained. The mask keeps us dealing with spirit of infirmity, being sick all the time because of belief systems, values that we've held onto. Mom was sick, dad was sick, entire family was sick. These are belief systems. Yeah, that mask. That mask is a piece of work. That mask makes us or puts us in a place where we're constantly having to perform, be on stage, and get upset when we haven't done our best or when we feel ridiculed. And the mask has us living in fear. And remember, stated earlier, the mask's not something made of metal. It's not something made of cloth. It's not something that you cover your head with. But it's the erroneous belief systems that we have that create a perimeter around us, so to speak. Sort of like a prison that kind of houses us in. We can't get out and we find ourselves, lunch is at 2 o'clock, dinner's at 7 o'clock, doing the same thing over and over. Unable to get out of our current situation. Because many reasons. As I said earlier, the abuse is part of the mask. From one person to another person, the abuse has us abusing each other because of the mask. Again, the motivation, the spirit behind it. The mask has always been deception. The mask wanted us to conceal the truth. There was a purpose for the lie. And the purpose of that lie was to conceal the truth, to keep the truth hidden from you and I. Because when you found the truth, or you discovered the truth by someone else who discovered it, now it was up to you to be skeptical, to try to figure out if that person's telling the truth or not. trying to figure out, what does he know or what does she know that I don't know? Well, he doesn't have a degree. He doesn't have doctor behind his name. The mask. The mask that you and I have been wearing for years, until one day that some individual decides, man, this is uncomfortable. I can't wear the guilt anymore. I don't want to wear the guilt anymore. I don't want to wear the pain anymore. In most cases, the pain becomes ours. It isn't necessarily that we were born into pain, but we were born into situations, every last one of us. So the pain inevitably became ours because of the situation. And so now we are in a situation, and we're trying to get out from under that situation. We're trying to reestablish ourselves. Words themselves, words that we speak, they're the framework for life. They're the very framework that brings things to existence. The very frame that sets a man free versus yet another man who is in prison, and the prison figuratively speaking. So now you and I have to determine, make a decision, make a choice. That are you going to walk out of this prison? Are you going to walk out of this prison? And I say prison, I'm speaking figuratively. Are you going to walk out? Or do you want to walk out? The masks are real because that's what we've determined them to be, is real. But in fact, they're not real. They exist because you and I have been told they exist. But if I were to tell you that there's a truth that exists, that is in direct contention with the lie that we've been told, there's a truth that's available to you and I that will have us shed the mask. All of the masks that we've been wearing, and come into a nakedness, so to speak. Coming into a place of authenticity, a place of integrity. That's what's missing from each of our lives. So tonight I want to invite those men who say, Curtis, this message stung. This message hurt. But I hear you, man. I'm ready to listen. I'm ready to make some changes, man. I have a family that I love dearly, and they have suffered because of the mask that I've been wearing. And to some extent, or most cases, I didn't even know I was wearing a mask. But this stuff that you've been talking about, Curtis, it makes sense. I'm persuaded now, Curtis. If that's you, I want to invite you to a transformational boot camp for men only that's going to change your life, put you on a different ride, not the one that you've been on, not the same corn dogs that I spoke of earlier, but put you on a different ride that's going to call you out of the cave that society has spoken against us. That society believes that's who we are. It's not true. So if this message has provoked you to be upset with me, what is this person talking about? Blah, 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 whatever the case might be, then you're who I'm talking to. You are who I'm talking to. I want to invite you to a transformational boot camp that's taking place November the 6th through the 8th. The link is on the screen. That's bit.ly/lead and live, just as it's spelled there on the screen. I want to see you there. I hope this message has touched your heart. If you want to work with me outside, well, Curtis, I don't want to do the conference, but I want to definitely get in touch with you. Reach out to me. Email me at itsnotrocketsciencecoaching.com, just spelled out all together. itsnotrocketsciencecoaching@gmail.com. Stand correct. Again, itsnotrocketsciencecoaching@gmail.com. Well, if you decide, well, this conference, Curtis, is Transformational Bootcamp for Men, Change the Way You Lead and Live. That's the name of the boot camp. Change the way you lead and live. If that's for you, because most importantly, us as men, if we change the way we lead, we can absolutely change the way we live and have everything that's connected to us change because we made the change here. So that being said, guys, it has absolutely been wonderful. It has been powerful. And I hope this message has, again, provoked you to make a change, provoke you to see things differently. I hope this message has rattled your belief systems so that you know that there's something different. I hope that you're tired of going round and around. I hope that you're tired of your wilderness experience that you may be dealing with right now. If you are, I want to see you at our Transformational Bootcamp. Change the way you lead and live. The link is on the screen, bit.ly/lead and live. All right, guys, it has been wonderful. It has been powerful. I hope this message has encouraged you. I hope this message has been a blessing to you. I hope that you will come back and watch the replay. Share this message out. Share this message out. So we'll say goodbye for now, guys. We'll talk with you later. Ciao for now. Good night, everyone.